Hello out there, my friends. It is I, Hondo Onaka. Now you know what to do. You must tune in to my favorite podcast, the Five-ish Fangirls. Otherwise, there could be consequences.
The tangents as we continue all the way to episode 376 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. And you better strap in because this podcast is about to go plaid. Welcome everyone to the 6th episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you joined us. Let's start off like a doing with the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany in Belvedere.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. And thankfully, we are not surrounded by assholes.
Yeah. We apologize for the sticky raspberry jam, but other than that,
Yep. And if you want to drink coffee while watching Radar, you're going to have to make your own.
Yep, we do not have Mr. Coffee.
Yep. All right. Well, this is gonna be a fun one. Happy belated Father's Day to all the father figures, uncles, folks out there. Hopefully you had a good day.
Yes, hopefully you all got all you dads and dad types out there got spoiled. Jared did. We got him Halo Infinite, and we've basically been playing. We played that most morning. I did have to go to the store, but yeah, after playing the last mainline Halo game, I'm like, okay, I think this one's not that the last one was bad, but this one fixes a few things at the end that were just kind of like, okay, what the hell?
Hey, yeah.
Very nice.
You just did what? What do you mean? That does not compute. Okay.
Oh, Jared just came out and said the new not Cortana is a lot more perky and happy. Is that what you said?
Yeah, she's cute.
She's cute. That's what he said. Which apparently, if you do multiplayer, you can actually pick what like the voice of your AI. It wouldn't necessarily be well. It's not Cortana, but there's one that's called Mr. Chief, and he kind of sounds like a the Wish version of Master Chief, and it's kind of funny. So for being kind of a grim, not really grim dark, but a little bit grim dark, it does have his light moments. And honestly, Alex came in and sat down. He goes, he goes, Star Wars? And we're like, no, it's not Star Wars. It's actually better than Star Wars these days. And he was like, okay. So he sat down and watched it with Jared while I had to go to the store and get milk. It was so cute.
Nice.
I walked in and they were playing. He was watching him play it. And I was like, oh, it's a good daddy bonding thing.
Yes. What that button do? Can I push?
Yeah. It's like, I thought it was going to be a little scary, but no, he was just sitting there going like, wow. I mean, he gets like they're not Covenant. They're the Banished. They're like kind of big monster alien type guys. It's like, okay, clearly these guys are the bad guys, and that's okay if they're a little scary.
Right.
So, Alex was into it.
And
so I'm like, cool.
Bad guy is clearly defined.
Yes. And yeah, Master Chief looks tough, but he's because it starts out with this guy is like floating around in a broken down spaceship that's after the big battle, and he's like, I don't know if I'm gonna get home. Master Chief he finds Master Chief knocked out, and Master Chief gets on the thing. It's like, okay, what do I got to do? Like what do we got to fix this? And the bad guys are out there, and he's like, okay, you get the batteries working again. I'll buy us some time. And I'm like, there's my Master Chief friend again. So anyway, that's our Father's Day story.
Nice.
So good times.
Well, we don't have any news.
That's surprising.
Been fairly quiet. So in this case, no news is good news, and everybody's busy. It's convention season, so everybody's
Yes.
out promoting stuff that we already talked about 6 months ago that we knew was coming.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching, there's one of the YouTube channels I follow. They were at a small convention, just kind of looking around at all the tables and stuff. I'm like, I miss conventions. It's like September's too far off. Also, it's too
Yep.
hot. That's neither here nor there. But yeah, conventions are happening. So
yeah,
that's what's going on.
So if you're planning on attending one, make sure you're tuned into said conventions news outlet, so
Yes.
you have the most current and up to date
Yes.
information. So
And just to put a plug out there, if you do go to a convention and want to send us a ground report, as it were,
Yes.
Mhm.
email us. Text is, just, you don't have to send us pictures or video, although we wouldn't say no to that. But you can email us 5ishfangirls@gmail.com and be the frog on the street, as it were.
Mhm.
Yeah, because watching some of these videos about cons, I'm like, oh, I miss Artist Alley. I need
Mhm.
Yep. So, and of course, stay tuned to our social media as we attend conventions. Like
yes.
Christy said, she's got Salt Lake Fan X coming in September. I've got
Yep.
In Conjunction coming up, not this weekend as we're recording this, but first weekend in July.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, and Jared and I are doing ToshoCon, which is the library's anime convention, which it's for
Nice.
teens, but we're it's on a very small scale, but it's a lot of fun. So I'll probably talk about that when it comes. That's going to be like the first couple weeks of September.
Yeah.
I'm in charge of the anime music video contest, which is definitely quite the experience getting this thing organized. But
I'm sure.
my saving grace is Jared's done it the last 2 or 3 years. This year he's doing the art contest. So I'm like, well, if I need help,
you know who to go to.
I
You got
do.
easy access.
I do indeed. So
Sweetie, some pointers, please.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and me, oh sensei.
Yeah. Although one year I did go with him because they went to some of the anime clubs in the system at the different branches in the system to show how to do AMVs, which I have made videos, not for anime, but it's the same basic principle. So I'm like, right now I'm currently trying to decide, okay, I'm trying to make a rubric for the judges, and I'm like, okay, what makes a good music video? Because I've watched plenty of them. It's like, well, what do I like? What do I not like? What makes me turn one off? That kind of thing. So I'm kind of playing a con organizer in some way, which is kind of interesting, but yeah, it'll be fun.
Yep.
And obviously FanX later in late September.
Yep. Well, so we will move on to feedback. So I got some feedback from Shalane. And she said she used to watch the Sonic cartoon. And she loves Tails. He was her favorite character. She said she also owned the Sonic video game on Game Boy and Xbox. I haven't played them for a long time. I said she watched the first movie. She loved it. She hasn't seen the new one yet. She said if you watch the new Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie, the bad CGI Sonic from the first movie before they fixed it apparently makes a cameo.
Yeah, I had seen it. Well, and then people are all like, "Oh, he's so cute now," and I'm like, "No, he's not. He never was. I don't know who you're kidding, but no. Internet, go home. You're drunk."
What Kool-Aid did you just drink from, please?
I mean, I'm sure the jokes are funny. I haven't watched that movie yet. I'm sure, like the jokes and all the stuff, but it's like, no.
Yep.
We they improved it. It's better.
We don't talk about ugly Sonic.
No, we don't. Absolutely not.
No.
I'm starting to feel twitchy.
Yeah.
No, the Sonic we ultimately got is that, yes.
Yes.
And again, I didn't grow up with Sonic beyond the Saturday morning cartoon back in the day, so I really don't have a dog in the fight. But
Mhm.
yeah,
But we do have standards.
yes, we do.
Yes,
We do. I think
exactly.
And then Chrissy, in your defense too, you have two littles who might want to sit and watch, so you're
yes,
probably going to be in the room with them watching this.
yes,
So yes,
absolutely.
mommy does have the right to have opinions here, and
I
setting
do
standards
indeed.
for-
There have been, I mean, Alex loves to watch YouTube videos with Mario, Sonic, Donkey Kong, like, you know, and it's like playthroughs of the games. But then he's found some that are like, it's like Mario and Luigi in real life. So it's like these two guys dressed up as Mario and Luigi, like doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's funny and I'm enjoying it.
Mhm.
But then he'll find others that look like that same thing. And I'll like, okay, we'll try it. And I'm looking at him like, no, absolutely not. And not because of
Not,
any
yeah.
like objectionable content for my 4-year-old,
Right.
but because I'm like, I feel brain cells leaking out of my ears as I watch this. Let's find something else.
Oh, yes.
Which isn't always the easiest thing to do, because when he gets fixated on something like, no, that's what he wants. And I'm like,
Mhm.
no, I am going to raise you better than that. It's not just for my sanity. It is for
Yours.
we're going to have standards, my son. It's like some parents may just like, here, watch the TV, which, you know, I am guilty of, I admit, because there's some days mommy needs the break, and just here,
Mhm.
watch something while I go do something else. But it's like, no, we're gonna watch something that isn't stupid, which is
We still have standards.
yes,
Yes.
standards. My
Yes.
children will have standards.
Mhm.
By golly. Which is kind of why I got into watching Miraculous Ladybug, because they started watching. I'm like, this is actually kind of cute. And now I'm like dying over all of the drama of it. Also, my kids, Lottie likes to go, like, because likes to say like the transformation sequence and all their little catchphrases after they say them. It is so adorable. I've been trying to get it on video, but I'm not quick enough, I guess. That is one we may want to put on our short list to cover at some point.
Cool.
But anyway, yeah.
Yep.
Mommy has standards, y'all.
Mhm.
Life is too short
Nothing
to watch
wrong with
bad
that.
CGI.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes,
Exactly.
that is exactly true.
Just wait till Alex gets old enough and you can introduce him to the live action Super Mario Brothers.
We actually
Oh.
own that. We do own that. And we actually, it was actually one of his Christmas presents, but we haven't sat down and watched it with him yet.
Oh.
I don't know I'm not sure what an appropriate age for that would be.
I
Or
think
if
he probably needs to be a little bit older.
Bit
but
older.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, because it could be a little scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, those yeah, the
Yeah.
henchmen are a little
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because like there are things that I think, oh my gosh, he's gonna be so scared of it. Like when we went to go see Sonic 2, there were a few scenes I'm like, is he gonna be okay? And he was just eating it up. But then today we were watching another YouTube video, and I can't remember what the context of it is, but like a CGI version of Slimer from Ghostbusters like popped out of nowhere, and it
Ooh.
scared the crap out of Alex. And I didn't think it was that scary.
Yeah.
But it
But-
did scare him. He jumped and and it
Mhm.
like grabbed onto me. I mean, and he wasn't like crying, but I was like, oh, you know, it's okay. He's just Slimer. He's a funny ghost.
Mhm.
It's okay. And then he was fine.
Mhm. Yeah.
Adventures in geek parenting. There it is.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Shalane, for your feedback as always.
Yes.
So we are going to move on to this week's topic, where we'll try to actually have a discussion and not just quote the entire movie.
I know. I was watching
Yeah.
it. Jared and I were watching it last night. I'm like, oh, this is such a funny movie. How am I going to actually
Yeah.
discuss it?
Mhm.
Because I just want to
Well,
quote it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
the thing is, like, yeah, this is one of my go-tos that you
Same.
can watch over and over and over again,
Mhm.
and it never gets old. But since I've been doing gold standard, some of the references, I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh, okay. I get that
That's
now.
where that came from.
Like
Like,
I knew
oh,
it. I could
There's one scene in
assume-
particular
and
that we
infer-
all should get from having
Well,
to watch
yeah.
a certain
I mean,
movie.
I've known about that one for.
Yeah.
I knew what that was a reference to, even if I'd never. I've seen that now, actually fairly recently. So that's really fresh.
Yeah.
But in these types of movies, where there tend to be a lot of like references to other things. Sometimes I can infer or kind of be like, I think that's a reference to something, but I don't know what.
Or you've heard the title of a movie, you're like,
Right.
oh, okay, that's what that is. I haven't
Yeah.
seen the movie, but
Now it's like, okay, I know what I see the reference now. So
yeah. Well, that's what you get with a lot of Mel Brooks movies, because he's just been in the
Mhm.
industry
yeah.
for so long.
yeah,
And that's how
Yep.
comedy writers are. They absorb the culture, the pop culture, and that it goes into their writing, their jokes, and all of that stuff. So
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, obviously, this is a Mel Brooks's version of the space drama a la Star Wars. So
Mhm.
a majority of the references and the jokes and stuff and the visuals are from Star Wars.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
the
There-
thing is, like, he had this idea to, take the Mel Brooks
Mhm.
spin on Star Wars. He was friends with George Lucas. So he went to George and was like, I want to spoof Star Wars. May I have permission to do this? Which I don't know, maybe in movies case, if it's different, like when you're spoofing something, if you technically need permission.
Well, maybe in this case, it's more of a a courtesy. Like,
It
I'm
may
gonna
have just been a
spoof
professional
this.
courtesy thing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's all in good fun. It's
Yeah.
not a dig, and I'm sure George Lucas was like, yeah, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, George, like he took the script to George and he was like,
Mhm.
this is what I'm thinking of doing. And George was like, absolutely. My only stipulation is you can't sell action figures.
yes,
So there's this, we got the whole bit about merchandising with yogurt.
Merchandising, yes.
yeah,
Mhm.
And the thing is, they weren't allowed to sell any merchandising because
Merchandise.
George was like, well, your things are going to look similar, and he
Mhm.
didn't want the kids to go to like Toys R Us and be confused.
yeah. Well,
Right.
and it was funny because we
So-
were gearing up to watch it last night, because we had a big Father's Day gathering, and everyone had gone home, and we put the kids to bed, and Jared's like, oh, let's you said you had to watch Spaceballs. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna can we watch it tonight? It's like, yeah. And I don't know I think we were looking up seeing if it was on streaming, because we do own it, but we didn't want to have to dig it out of the box if we didn't have to. But
Yeah.
somehow or other, he got like on the IMDb thing, and it said like it had that story about Mel Brooks asking George Lucas and about the merchandise, and Jared was like, wait, I didn't know that. Is that why there's the merchandising scene is in there? I'm like, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was
That
just,
was his only way he was able to get to it.
yeah,
Yep.
which is just, I mean, and we could talk at length about how merchandising works with movies and shows and things, and that's a
Mhm.
different topic. But it is so funny knowing, and it's not in a mean way, because there's some people who are like, oh, Star Wars, all it did, or any kind of 80s kids show, like it was just made to sell toys, and it's like, well, yeah, that's how the dang thing they could afford to make it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So it's not it's not really a dig against that. It's more of a, yeah, this is the reality of it, but it is kind of funny. So here we're gonna make fun of Spaceballs, the flamethrower,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and just all those fourth wall jokes. Like, I mean, yeah, I take a drink every time there's a fourth wall joke. You'll be passed out in like
Mhm.
like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure this is the first Mel Brooks movie I ever saw.
Same.
It's
Same.
definitely, if you're going to start watching Mel Brooks, this is probably a good place to start, because it's if you're familiar with Star Wars, then it's
Mhm.
a little easier.
Right.
Yeah.
For me, this is my favorite Mel Brooks movie of his entire
Uh-huh.
catalog.
Yep.
It's this and then Blazing Saddles and the Young Frankenstein for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think
Mhm.
I think Men in Tights was the first Mel Brooks movie I saw, but I think this one was probably the second one that I ever saw.
Yeah.
And
I think mine was Spaceballs, Men in Tights. Then I went back and Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. And Young Frankenstein was
It's
funny, the first time
Frankenstein.
the first time I saw that was it was a couple days before school was going to end my senior year, I think, or junior year in high school. And one of the science teachers I had was a big Mel Brooks fan, and that was his favorite movie. So he's just like, we're just going to sit back and relax and watch this. And we're like, okay.
because at that point in the school year, nobody wants to do a dang thing.
And dang thing. Yep.
Exactly.
I'm like, sure.
Yeah.
Gene Wilder, Mel Brooks, Terry Garr, not a problem.
Yeah.
I can deal with this.
Exactly. Although Mel Brooks does not appear in Young Frankenstein, that was his
Mm-mm.
agreement with Gene Wilder. Gene was like, I will do it if you're not in it. So there you go.
Smart man.
But,
Behind the camera, yes. In front of the camera, no.
yeah. And I mean, in this one, obviously Mel, he's in it twice, and he directed it because he plays President Scrooge, which is Brooks spelled backwards.
Well,
Yep.
in a way, the R's in the wrong place, but yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you got to make it pronounceable still.
this is true.
Yeah.
So, but obviously, you did get Emperor Palpatine
Yes.
from Star Wars, and then he plays Yogurt, their version of Yoda, which
Yeah.
Mel Brooks was one of those people that suffered for his art,
Yes.
where in the same vein as the Tin Man in the Wizard of Oz and poor Gimli in Lord of the Rings, the makeup was hell
Uh-huh.
and made him rash and itch like something terrible. He was popping Benadryl like it was going out of style
Oh
because of
man.
the
Yeah, it
gold
was,
makeup that he had to wear to play Yogurt.
Well, and he also had to walk on his knees, didn't he?
Yes, yeah, and even though he had knee
Ooh.
pads, that still hurt.
Well, yes.
Oh, we.
Which,
Yeah.
And you can kind of tell as you're watching because the robe is so much bigger behind him just to cover up his legs. But
you kind of watch
Uh-huh.
it sometimes, like you're just kind of waiting to like say maybe see if the robe kind of bunches up just enough to see his tips of his feet. They did a good job of keeping it in place. But yeah, it's very obvious that he's like, he's walking on his knees, but it's funny anyway.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yogurt the wise, Yogurt the
Uh-huh.
magnificent, Yogurt the powerful.
Oh, yes.
Please, I'm just plain Yogurt.
Yeah, I mean, in all those gags, like it is leaning on the fact that yes, we can tell he's walking on his knees, but that builds into like, yeah, this is a parody, and maybe they didn't get a Muppet for this one.
Yeah.
So it's so like even the behind the scenes stuff is clearly that's almost a fourth wall joke in and of itself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, you watch I'll have it linked in the show notes. There's a behind the scenes that I'm assuming is part of one of the DVD version releases. And you see Mel Brooks like literally like there's one scene where President Scrooge literally comes running into the room and he quickly does the Spaceball salute, and
Yep.
then Mel Brooks keeps on running off the set to the monitor behind the cameras to see to check the shot. Like, how'd that look?
Mel Brooks is a man of so many awesome talents.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
He
he's
is.
absolutely hilarious. And the obviously by the time he made this movie, he had established himself. He had some pull, working, doing some very funny movies, and when he decided, he's like, oh, Star Wars, let's play in that sandbox. It was figuring out the casting. It's like, at the time, it's not a stacked cast, but you have to remember, for the time period, like, Rick Moranis was like a big star. So was John Candy.
Yep.
Like, they were like two of the biggest stars for comedy in the 80s.
Which is why they have top billing over, even Bill Pullman and the gal that plays Vespa, because
Daphne Zulinga.
Daphne Zulinga, because they're they're like they're the main characters, but it's like, but Bill Pullman, like, this was like his second project, if I remember reading right.
Yeah,
I mean, it was very early on.
This is years before Independence Day, obviously. So
right,
yeah.
So he was a relative unknown, but dang, he he made it.
I think, as Lone Star, especially considering instead of having a separate character that was the parody of Luke Skywalker and a parody of Han Solo, they just smushed the two together.
And it works brilliantly.
It does, because I mean, this is just one movie. It's about an hour and a half long, whereas Star Wars is, the original trilogy, 3 movies, and they're over 2 hours, I think.
2 hours? Yeah.
Because this is obviously, we're doing this because it's an anniversary year for it. This is 87, so the movie is 35 years old at this point. But obviously, it came out post the entire OG trilogy being released in theaters, and there were some people. It was moderately financially successful when it released. It's one of those that's gone on to have a real cult following.
Yeah, thank goodness for videotape.
At the time, and not just instant cassettes. Now. Some of the critics were like, it's great, poking fun at Star Wars and stuff, but it's several years too late. Because I think some people were under the assumption, it's like, oh yeah, Star Wars is a thing, but the last movie's been out for Return of the Jedi came out in what,
83
or 85,
82, 83, something like that.
It's about 5-6 years depending.
So there were some people that were like, Star Wars, it was a thing, it made a ton of money, but we've moved on. Why are you making fun of it now? Which now, because Star Wars is like, huge, even huger now, and just everywhere, it's like, oh yeah, it makes sense. But at the time, some people were scratching their heads like, why are you making fun of something that there hasn't been a new movie for it in like 5 years?
Yeah, and for all intents and purposes, it was over. Like, they told the story and it was done. I mean, like, I think kids were probably still like buying the toys and stuff, but it wasn't like, it wasn't. Well, I guess it would come on to TV every once in a while, because I remember my dad watching it. But it was still.
Well, then we had the cartoon series spin-offs, but those were a few years.
That's true, and some of the Ewok movies, but it was kind of like those were very niche. Like, you did not like people, the public at large weren't like, oh, we got to go see the Ewok movie.
Unless I'm pretty sure Mel Brooks' way of kind of putting Star Wars back on the radar. Like, hey guys.
People were waiting in line for hours for Caravan of Courage.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing with Mel Brooks, and we'll eventually talk about Mel because he's in the hat. So hopefully he gets drawn while he's still with us.
Yes. I mean,
He's a stubborn old Jew. He's gonna stick around for a while.
I hope so. I'm like, I
Well,
kind of,
yeah.
there's part of me that's very much hoping that there's one more project in that in that mind of his. but
Well, I
we-
mean,
we will see.
and
How many
hopefully
of
the
us are
search for more
waiting-
cash.
Go search
Yeah.
for more money. Like,
Yeah, I would
seriously.
totally, go see, Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money. Or there was another one, there was another title floated, Spaceballs 3, The Search for
For
Spaceballs,
Spaceballs
2.
too. Yeah, Rick Moranis
yeah.
actually came up with the idea for that.
Oh, I like
it would
that.
be
Couldn't
so
get it off
cool.
the
It would be
ground.
so cool to get Rick Moranis out of retirement because
Retirement.
He's already semi out of retirement.
okay.
Yeah, he's
I just haven't-
slowly. I think because of his kids are grown.
Right, yeah, his kids are all
Right.
adults now, so he could get back into it if he really wanted.
Yeah.
And we, everybody, myself included, would just be like, "Heck yes, bring him back."
Uh-huh. Yes.
Because
Yeah,
I mean,
We need some more
unfortunately,
Lord Helmet in our lives.
some of the cast, a lot, a good
Mhm.
number of the cast is not with us anymore.
that is
Right.
true. That is true.
John Candy's gone. Joan Rivers
Yeah.
is gone.
Mhm.
Every
Dick
time I see
Van
John,
Patten is gone. So
every time
Yeah.
I see John Candy in anything, I just, I'm just
Uh-huh.
like, oh, I miss him. I
Mhm.
miss it.
Yep.
I mean, I didn't see him in a ton of things growing up, but when he was when he was on my screen, I was like, he is so funny. Even when I was a
Mhm.
little
Yep.
kid, I loved him. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But
yeah,
it's all
they would
good.
seriously have to play with the script, assuming they kept it in the the style of Star
Mhm.
Wars.
Right.
Maybe
Right.
update it and bring in parody versions of some of our new Star Wars characters like Rey and BB-8
or they-
and
Right,
Finn,
yeah.
Or they do a prequel.
Yeah. They've got that option.
yeah,
Find out a little bit more about Lone Star's parents.
Yeah,
Something.
that's true.
I don't know.
That
There's
is
a lot of
true.
ways it could go, or they could just.
Yeah.
My fear is with all this. My fear is that we had, what is it, like the Scary Movie and all of those, or
Oh,
Not
yeah,
Another Teen
those,
Movie and all those kinds of things.
yeah.
My fear is that Hollywood would be like, yeah, the parody, it's been done, or people will think, oh, we don't want to do this anymore, even though it is Mel Brooks who's kind of
Mhm.
the godfather of parodying
Yeah.
certain genres, but it's like I
I
don't know. Hollywood's a fickle thing.
right. Hopefully they wouldn't poo-poo it too much, especially if it's Mel Brooks that would be
Yeah.
doing it. I mean, he's got the clout, he's got the know-how,
Uh-huh.
he's got the track record. Let's just put it that way.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
And it's like, come on, he's getting up there in years. Let him do one more, guys, please.
Mhm.
If he was up for it, obviously, but
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to think he is. It's just
Mhm.
that the stars have not
Mhm.
come into
Yeah.
alignment for it
This is-
to happen.
mhm.
So, but yeah. In the meantime, we'll keep waiting. The search for
Mhm.
So, like, we'll give you the money. You just need to make it
Mhm.
happen. So, but yeah, it is a shame that so much of the recognizable cast
Yeah.
is no longer with us. So that does affect it some, but we do still have Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
And I don't think Daphne is necessarily doing a whole lot in the way of acting.
I
These
don't think
days,
so.
The most recent, I say recent, this is still years ago, the most recent thing I saw her in is she was the face and kind of the person, like the man on the street, quote unquote, for a documentary about the group that does the TED Talks.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's like the most recent thing I've seen her in, and that's still several years ago. So but I'm sure she would probably be willing. I mean, she did the cast that was still around when they did the cartoon came back to do the voices, and then that was in 2008.
Right.
Yeah, it looks like she's done a lot of TV. I mean, there's a few other like small roles and things, but
yeah,
it's not huge. And maybe it's just that's where she's comfortable or things like that. But
yeah. Bill Pullman is still out there.
Oh yeah.
Putting around doing stuff. So it could be done. It just has to be the right script is the biggest thing. So and maybe this time they can do merchandising, because you know what?
Yeah,
George ain't control of in control of the Star Wars IP anymore.
I'd be afraid Disney would be even more like, no, you're not doing it.
Yeah.
But maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, if anybody knows something about merchandising, it's Disney.
This is true.
True. Now, wouldn't it be the
like,
kicker
you
if
want that
Disney's like, hey,
flamethrower to actually
we'll
be a
foot
thing?
the bill.
Yeah.
We'll foot the bill.
Yeah. Although, really, at this point, I'm pretty sure Spaceballs, the flamethrower, is passe because the Boring Company already did it.
Oh well, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they'd come up with something else. It would just be as nutty.
Somewhere Mel Brooks is like,
Baseball's the rocket launcher.
yeah. Come on, Mel, we're giving you these ideas for free.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just let us come on set and do do a bit of a on location podcast.
Yeah. Throw us in some bros who can be extras in the background somewhere.
Yep. We can do tink, 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 tink.
Yeah.
Real easy.
Ding, 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 ding. For the longest time, I didn't realize that those things were actually called dinks. The species, that's what they were actually called. I knew they were his spin on the Jawas, but I didn't realize that that's actually what they were called, were dinks. So oh bye. So yeah, I mean, this covers some of the main points of Star Wars ish. It kind of takes it from 4, 5, and 6. Really.
Yeah,
because I
don't
mean,
have a whole lot of Empire. We got mainly New Hope and Jedi with Pizza the Hutt.
Right.
Yes. Played by Dom DeLuise.
Yeah.
Please, yes.
Which,
If anybody's going to talk about pizza, is going to be Dom DeLuise.
yes.
Mhm.
Well, and actually, because, Lone Star, I mean, there's not a whole lot of plot to it. It's just, that's motivation for him to like, okay, I'm going to go save the princess because I need the money. And then you kind of forget about pizza until at the end that, he was trapped in a, whatever he was trapped in, and he ate himself to death. Yeah, his limo.
Yeah.
So it's like, he's also don't be eating while he's on screen because ew.
Yeah.
It's a little bit greasy.
Still to this day, it still kind of squicks me just a little bit like it did back when I was younger.
Yeah. You know those people that when you eat pizza with them, and they insist on dabbing their slices with like paper towel or napkins first, and it soaks up all that grease. That is Pizza the Hutt in the flesh, essentially.
Yeah, that he's that paper towel.
Yeah.
Yes, he needs a paper towel.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, he needs to be hosed down or something.
But he's like in Return of the Jedi, there's that whole first third, I guess, of the movie where they're in Jabba's palace, and basically it's just And in this one, it's just like Pizza says, I need money. You need to pay me back. And they're desperate. And then the king calls them and says, I need you to save my daughter. And they're like, okay, money. And that's Pizza. That's the extent of Pizza's involvement.
Well, it's not just money.
Yeah.
It's a shit ton of money.
Yes.
and I kind of love the introduction to Lone Star and Barf. You know, we see the Bartholomew, we see the space Volkswagen pull through, and of course, what do you have? Valerian in the background with Barf dancing to Bon Jovi. It's like, okay, there must be a Jersey somewhere. And I'm just like, nice.
Space Jersey.
Yeah.
Space Jersey.
Yeah. Oh, and it's a Winnebago.
Winnebago, thank you.
Yeah. Because someone would write in and be like, no, it's
Oh, I know. I know.
But which it makes me wonder, it's like, did they actually use a Winnebago and just stick wings on it?
Probably. I'm pretty sure. I mean, the thing is like, you know, like you said, Mel went to George and was like, do I have permission to do my version of Star Wars with this? And George was like, yes, absolutely. You just can't do toys. And Mel was like, great. And George was like, but I will loan you ILM to do all your special effects.
Yes.
Sweet.
That's the part that cracked me up the most. I mean, as much as funny as the whole movie is, and it is hilarious, the funniest part for me, the first time I ever saw it, was we're watching the credits and it shows up, you know, Industrial Light and Magic doing the special effects. I'm like, wait. They got the guys from Star Wars to help with the effects on a Star Wars spoof. That is amazing. I love it. That is my favorite
I'm sure the
part
guys
of this
are more
whole
than
movie.
happy to help out. Sure.
Oh yeah. That is my favorite part of the whole movie. And I love the movie, don't get me wrong, but it's that they got ILM to come in and help them with all that stuff. And I'm like, oh man.
Well, because I think George Lucas knew. He's like, you know, Mel, we're friends. I get you. I know you're a good guy. You wanted, you know, Mel always tries to do. He does these parodies of these genres, you know, with like Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles, that he wants it to look as authentic as possible.
Oh yeah, and it's
sure
all
George
it's
was
all
all
in
like,
good
you know,
fun.
if you're going to parody my thing, I want you to be able to do it right.
It's like let's make it look
action
good.
figures that Helmet was playing with after he captured Princess Vespa. I mean, those things looked really darn accurate. Like those could have been if they would have allowed the merchandising, those would have been the prototypes. Yep.
Those were the only Spaceballs action figures in existence, are the ones being played with by Dark Elf, which Rick Moranis ad-libbed that entire scene.
Yes.
I'm not surprised. I mean, how many of us did that with our Star Wars action figures?
Or any toys.
You can't see me, but hand is raised and waving.
Which I kind of hope that they kept those somewhere. They're like in a museum or something, because oh my gosh, that would be so cool just to see them. I don't necessarily want to own them, but it would be like, hey, they kept them.
Like, these are the only action figures we were ever gonna get,
and they're props.
So
No, sir, I did not see you playing with your dolls.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, so good. So good.
Yes. Well, and one other thing that Jared and I realized, and I actually mentioned it before we started recording, because you know there's the wedding at the beginning, and then there's the wedding at the end, and you know, and we were watching the end wedding, and Jared was like, "When did this movie come out?" And I was like, "I'm not sure." So he starts looking up. He's like, "When did Princess Bride come out?" Like, "Oh, 87," because he thought like, well, maybe Spaceballs got that from Princess Bride. So we look it up. No, Spaceballs came out in 87, same year as Princess Bride. So
yeah, no, the wedding at the end where King Roland is telling Princess Vespa that he's like, yeah, when she's all mad, she's like, oh, he took his million space bucks and left, and he's like, no, he only took
No, he
111.80 space bucks and 87 cents for gas, food, and tolls and all those things. That is actually a spoof of the wedding scene in It Happened One Night.
Oh, cool.
Oh, okay.
The Clark Gable movie.
Okay.
Where there something very similar happens because Clark Gable's character had been promised by the runaway bride's father a bunch of money to bring her back so that she can marry the person she was supposed to get married to. And so she gets returned to her father, and he's walking her down the aisle, and she's mad because she's fallen in love with Clark Gable but doesn't want to admit it. And her dad was like, no, he just took the money for expenses. And that's when she realizes he didn't do it for the money because he loves me, so
Right.
But again, it wasn't until I did Gold Standard that I realized what that was.
Yeah.
So yeah, look for the wedding and It Happened One Night, and you could see that it's almost spot on. So yeah, that was another one of those where I'm like, oh, I get it now. I see.
And even if you don't get it, it's still funny because he gives an exact amount, and it's for gas money.
Yes.
And tolls,
so,
yes.
Yeah, and tolls. So it's not like, if you haven't seen this other movie, then the joke doesn't land. It still works even if you don't know the movie.
Yep.
But it was just funny that it's like, okay, so there's these two movies that are more or less parodies of their respective genres that came out in 1987 that both have a wedding that kind of resembles each other, at least as far as the clergyman is concerned.
Yes.
Oh, that poor clergyman.
One with a speech impediment and one getting in speech impediment because of how angry he is because the wedding.
Like, I'm going to marry somebody.
Somebody. Yes. Who are you? I'm the best man. Move aside. Are you getting married? No.
Yeah.
Although I will admit, I'm gonna admit to this. I think the love story with Lone Star and Vespa is really sweet. I would like totally, if there was another movie where it kind of focused on their relationship or something, I would totally watch it, or read the book or something. Because I'm like, oh, you two are so cute.
Yes.
And I am a confirmed Han and Leia shipper. Absolutely, I love
Same
them.
here.
But I do love Lone Star and Vespa. I'm like, oh, it's adorable, and that he's so bummed out that she's gonna marry Prince Valium.
Oh, talk about a snooze fest right there.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you take Valium.
Yes, which is another joke that works on many levels. Like Valium puts you to sleep, but it's also Prince. Prince Valiant is a classic cartoon comic strip.
Yeah.
So if whether if you're familiar with one or the other or both, it's still funny. And bingo is next Wednesday.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Oh, and of course, you can't parody one space epic without also parodying the other space epic, Star Trek with Snotty and his beaming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which this one, there's not as many Star Trek references,
right?
But there are some. There are enough. I mean, and then it references Planet of the Apes at the end too. So it's not just Star Wars. Just Star Wars.
Neighborhood.
Yeah. Star Wars is the kind of the main one, but he threw some others in there as well.
Yep.
Yeah, but the whole beaming thing, and President Scrooge getting his head backwards, yet his arms. It's obvious that they've got like Mel is standing in front of like a body double or something, so his hands are still facing the same direction as his head.
Yeah. I know, and it's like, yeah, I got your head on backwards and your arms.
Yeah.
Your hands are going the right way.
Yep.
But that's still
Somebody
funny.
tell me my ass was so big in these
They're
pants.
big. Yes.
It's the stripes, Scroob. Don't do
Yeah.
stripes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then of course Alien. The
Oh
big
well, yes.
alien.
And you actually get John Hurt to do it.
I
Yes.
know!
Yes.
Oh man, that
and the little alien doing his best little froggy
yeah,
Yes.
Michigan J Frog.
frog. Yes.
Which poor John Hurt.
Oh yes. Not again.
When Mel Brooks asked him, he just thought it'd be a quick like walk-on thing.
Mhm.
Like, they're at this diner and there'd be these people chatting and it'd be like, oh, look, it's that guy from Alien. It wasn't until he got on set and realized that it was going to be an exact recreation of the chest burster scene. And he's like, after the fact, he's like, I should have got paid for this.
Well, and it's just so John Hurt to be game for something like that. It's like that's why we loved him. We still love him even though he's no longer with us. Is that he would just let's do it. I mean he's freaking John Hurt. He could be in anything, but he would do these things. It was just like, oh man, you are a treasure.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sloan Star and Barf asking, what did he have?
The special.
I'm changing to soup.
Check, please.
Yes.
Like, never mind. But yeah, I mean, it's a really good recreation. Again, having ILM do your special effects obviously really helps.
Yes.
Oh, obviously.
But, I mean, the chestburster scene is just so iconic. And,
yes.
If you know anything about the making of Alien, how the cast didn't realize just how extreme it was going to be. So when like the alien bursts out of his chest and the stuff gets everywhere and people are like, that's like a genuine reaction because none of them actually realized just how graphic it was going to be. So then for them to recreate it, and then you got John Hurt going, oh no, not again.
Not again. And then the little alien just dances off with
just a little
and just the way he looks at everybody, it's like, everybody don't freak out. Everybody be quiet. I have to make my performance an exit.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So you got some Star Trek, you got some Alien, and there you got Planet of the Apes. Obviously all wrapped in this Star Wars blanket. So instead of the Force we have the Schwartz, even though they name drop the Force.
Yeah,
no,
that
Schwartz!
one. Yeah,
Because
that one
Mel
is
Brooks
probably
Jewish.
Yep, that one is probably. I don't want to say generic enough. The way they use the word force, that they could get away with it without. Also, George Lucas had. They had George Lucas's blessing, so he wasn't going to throw a fit.
Right.
But it's like, yeah.
But still, Schwartz. It's like, it sounds funny.
Oh yes, of course it sounds funny. The
Sometimes
Schwartz.
the Schwartz with their rings.
Yes, and all the double entendres.
I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
My second roommate's brother's whatever.
My father's uncle's cousin's brother's former roommate.
What
So what does that make us? Absolutely
Nothing.
Nothing.
That's why it will make it so much easier to kill you.
When will then be now? Soon.
No, soon.
And of course, we need to give.
And just when they get the present, and then they're all sitting in trance watching the Darth Helmet's hand move, and you see all the other hands move.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
and
of course,
the sand scene with the
Yeah.
hair pick.
Yes.
Comb the desert.
Found-
We ain't found shit.
We ain't found shit.
Yeah. Like, are we being too literal? Dark Helmet has a change in outfit.
Yep.
But it's
Oh
still,
yeah.
it's still the big explorer
you
hat,
go,
and it's got a
yes.
visor,
Yes.
which is funny because originally, in his Dark Helmet, he said, "I can't breathe in this thing," but yet you're out in the desert with that big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, he's got to look menacing somehow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The bloops, and the sweeps.
Yes, I was gonna say we need to give a nod to Michael Winslow. You may not know his
Yes.
name, but you know his talent.
Yes. And those of you who are old enough to remember Police Academy, I believe he was in that as well.
Oh yes, yep, he was in all of them,
Mhm.
or at least
Yep.
6, 7. At least 7, however many there are, 7 of them plus the TV series.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's kind of his thing, is being able to make all those sound effects with just his voice. Mel Brooks likes to joke that scene with the radar being jammed, or the if him doing the beeps, and I can't even come close to attempting
Beeps,
to make
bloops, and
those
the sweeps,
sounds.
yeah.
The beeps, the bleeps, and the sweeps. Mel Brooks likes to joke that he saved about $1,000 in just by having Michael do the sound effects for that scene. So,
Probably wondering, why don't more people do this?
yeah.
Yes.
Just hire this guy. He knows.
Yep. Yeah. Oh my goodness. This is I love this movie. Like I said, it's one of my go-tos,
Mhm.
If I was on trapped on a desert island and could only take a handful of movies, this would be in the bunch.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those. It's like, I mean, you can watch it anytime, obviously, but like if you're homesick and you don't have kids jumping on you, but that's aside the point.
Yeah.
You're homesick and you're just like, I don't want to sleep anymore. I want to watch something. This is a good one. This is a good one to pop in and just
Mhm.
enjoy the funny, because
Yeah.
it's so much. It's awesome.
Mhm.
And
It
I'm
is a-
gonna have to check, because this Wednesday Turner Classic Movies is actually showing Spaceballs.
Oh, nice.
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 Yes, so I'm gonna, and usually before they show certain movies, they do a little spiel. So I'm gonna check to see if they have a little spiel and see what they have to say.
Yeah. Yeah, because right
'Cause I'm
now
just-
the movie is not, it's not streaming on any of the paid services. You have
No,
to
you
rent it or
can-
buy
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, you can buy it off
Mhm.
Amazon, but I would
Yeah.
rather have we have the DVD, but it's an
Yeah,
older one. I'm like, is it?
Yeah.
And that's the case for the cartoon series as well. Is you'd
Mhm.
have to buy it off of like Apple or Amazon. There's only one season of it.
Mhm.
So and like I said, a good chunk of the cast that was still living, did come back to do the voices.
Mhm.
Although because it's a cartoon, and they also got some of the there's some recognizable names on theirs, because at that point Rick Moranis had retired, so they got D. Bradley Baker to do the voice of Dark Helmets.
Mhm.
Obviously John Candy had passed by that point, so
Yeah.
uh,
Now, let's see, because it's looking up. They do have Spaceballs is on Blu-ray. You can buy it, which is
Mhm.
because we have like an older DVD, and it's one of those double-sided ones. So one is like it's
Oh, yeah,
got
the
the
widescreen
chopped
and full
fours.
screen.
Yeah, well, widescreen. It's like just this little rectangle in the middle of your big flat screen TV. And we're
Right.
like, oh, okay, yeah. So I was looking up like can we get this on Blu-ray and maybe the aspect ratio will be better? Because it is available. There's a Blu-ray plus DVD, and then there's one that's just the Blu-ray. So that is that is somewhere you could totally get it. So I'm actually tempted to pick it up because we do have the DVD, but it would be nice to have a slightly nicer.
And the Blu-ray is nice because I think I've got both versions. I think one was just standard, and I think the other one's like an anniversary release, and they're both good. The transfers were nice.
Yeah. It was originally released on VHS, of course, and Laserdisc in 1988. And then re-released in the 90s. They released it on VHS twice, one in version in blue in widescreen. And the Laserdisc had a commentary track with Mel Brooks that was transferred over to the DVD and Blu-ray releases. It was first released on DVD in 2000. That contained the making of documentary and a collectible making of booklet. Then it was released in a collector's edition in 2005 that contained more extras. And then there was the 25th anniversary edition that was released in 2012. It was released on Blu-ray. And then there's an Ultra HD Blu-ray edition that was released in 2021. And then the soundtrack it in 2006 the La La Land Records released Spaceballs, the 19th anniversary edition CD.
Of course they did. 19th anniversary. Oh my gosh. Mel Brooks.
Yep. So, but yeah, like I said, it wasn't. I mean, opening weekend, it was second in the box office, finishing behind Dragnet.
All right.
Which was the Dan Aykroyd, Tom Hanks film version of the TV show that I watched on Nick at Night as a kid. I mean, even now, it doesn't necessarily have. I mean, on Rotten Tomatoes, which, as far as
that's critics versus
reviews, it's still sitting at 56%.
Well, to be fair, how many critics would have reviewed it since it first came out?
45 have given it positive reviews.
Okay. So I mean, I don't know if there's been any like newer reviews of, in the last 20 years or anything like that, but it's so but I mean, I'm sure audience reviews, there's a lot of them. I'm not looking at it. You're probably looking at it right now, but
Metacritic, it's got an average score of 46% based on 14 reviews. So, but obviously we don't care what the critics have to say because it's the fans that care, and we love it.
Well, and that's how a lot of these 80s comedies kind of got their, new lease on life, to so to speak, because, Princess Bride, speaking of, really wasn't that big a hit in theaters, but then you get it on video and people rent it and they're like, hey, this is awesome. You watch it over and over again. And it's
word
just
of mouth.
It's word of mouth. It's that sweet spot where you're like, hey, you got to watch this movie, and you watch it at home. And so you don't necessarily see it in the theaters for, whatever reason. And the critics are down on it, but it just gets a following because it came out right as, VHS videotape, and rentals were becoming a huge thing. So it kind of hit just right for that, and that's why we're still talking about it.
It's almost like Mel Brooks knew what he was doing.
Yes. Imagine that.
What do you know?
Mhm.
And of course, there's it's had maybe not quite the impact on popular culture as Star Wars actually did, but in a way, it has had its own impact. Like I said, the Boring Company, they released their flamethrowers, air quotes, in 2018, partially inspired by the merchandising scene. And again, Elon Musk must be a fan, because Tesla on one of their I don't know how many of their vehicles have this, but they have these Starship speeds for the different acceleration modes in their cars. So Tesla has a ludicrous mode for an acceleration beyond, its insane mode, and plaid mode.
Of course.
Nice.
That does not surprise me that Elon Musk would do that.
Yeah.
'Cause
Nope.
he's an interesting fellow, that man.
Yeah, I'm surprised there wasn't a raspberry jam somewhere.
It's their
in
their
that
Model
mess.
S back in 2015.
Mhm.
They had a ludicrous mode to their the car goes from 0 to 81 miles per hour. Which,
goodness.
as a human being on land, that probably maybe feels like ludicrous mode.
Oh yes, yes it does.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, we'll wait for the search for more money. So
Mhm.
as of 2020, when asked, Bill Pullman said, "It's up to Mel. Ask him if he has too much money, and that's why he doesn't do it."
Ooh.
Hmm.
Shots fired there, Mel.
Which, not to perpetuate the stereotype, but Mel Brooks is a Jew. He can never have too much money.
Well, okay. Mel Brooks is one of would be the first one to lean into the
The
Jewish
stereotype, yeah.
Yes.
for laughs. This is the man who brought us the producers, after all.
This is the man that played
Yes.
Hitler. So
Yes, this is which if you haven't seen the producers, the original with Gene Wilder, and you gotta watch it. It is so
Yes.
dang funny, and you have to have a sense of humor about it, and that
Oh,
it's
yes.
Mel Brooks that made it.
Springtime for Hitler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a quote. Well, I'm gonna butcher the quote because I do not have it in front of me. But when they were asking him like, "Why did you make that movie?" and it's just like, because he had relatives in the Holocaust, as I recall the story going, and he's like, "Look, you can either be sad and bemoan
Bitter?
the tragedy and be bitter, or you can laugh at it and make the monster less scary." So and that is one of the reasons. I mean, I love Mel Brooks's movies, the ones I've seen. There are some I have sadly yet to see, but I'm going to fix that. But that is one of the reasons I love Mel Brooks. Is just that he is like, yeah, there's awful things in the world. But let's make fun of them.
Mhm.
Like, I like that philosophy.
Yeah.
Which is why I say he is a treasure.
He is.
Yep.
And I imagine this is not going to be the last time we discuss a Mel Brooks movie.
Oh no! Oh no!
I don't think
there
so.
are many in his filmography that we really need to tackle.
Yes.
Yes.
So anyway,
Anybody
may the
have
Schwartz be with
anything
you.
else? Yeah.
Mhm. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor and track down a copy.
And if you haven't
Yes.
seen it in a while, track down a copy. Like I said,
Mhm.
well, it looks like Now, I'm not sure what multi-format Blu-ray means, but it is $7 on Amazon right now.
That's
It's
cheap.
it's one of those. It's like his are worth owning a physical copy of.
Yes.
So I would
Mhm.
totally I would do that. In fact, I'm kind of contemplating getting this, even though we do have the DVD, but the Blu-ray would be nice to have. I'm just trying to make
Mhm.
sure like this isn't something like, oh, it's in the wrong country of origin, USA. Okay. I still don't. It says there's one disc, but it just says multiple formats, Blu-ray.
It looks like it's a repackage too.
Okay.
Could it mean like multiple like screen format? Maybe.
Well, what it means, yeah, because
Possibly.
I think multiple formats because this one also does have if it's the same one you're looking at, it has a Blu-ray and DVD, so that's probably why it says multi-format.
Okay.
So you get 2 for the price
Of
one.
$7.
Right.
Okay. Well, and like here I see Robin Hood Men in Tights for $6.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be worth that. Well, that'll definitely be worth getting.
Mm-hmm.
Blazing Saddles is a little pricey, but that's one I'm like, oh, I'm afraid that one's gonna disappear someday. So I'm like, I gotta grab it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's got Gene Wilder in it, man. Come on.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
Anyway, well, I'll take a look at that when we're done. So if any of our listeners want to chime in on their thoughts about Spaceballs or Mel Brooks or anything that we've discussed here today, you can send us feedback. Our email address is fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also visit our website, which is the5ishfangirls.com, and there will be links to our social media. You can leave a comment on the website itself. You can help support the show through our Patreon, our merch store, or any of our other outlets for doing so. And as always, we thank you for listening and thank you for supporting and commenting and sending feedback. We are glad to know that you are enjoying the shenanigans just as much as the rest of us are.
Mm-hmm.
So, and take care out there, and hope y'all are staying cool this summer,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, and if that's all we've got, we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany and Beldo saying goodnight.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. May the schwartz be with you. You have been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. You can find more episodes and information at thefiveishfangirls.com. Any and all books, movies, games, and any other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied. If you wish to support the show, the easiest way is to leave us a rating and review. More ratings and reviews will make it easier for others to find the show. If you wish to support us monetarily, you can do so at patreon.com/fiveishfangirlspodcast. All money goes towards fees and equipment to keep the show going. For official Five-ish Fangirls merchandise, visit redbubble.com/people/fiveishfangirls. We love hearing from our listeners and encourage feedback. You can email us at fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/fiveishfangirls. Thank you so much for listening, and may the squee be with you.